Welcome to the Warren Cycling Podcast. My name is Dean Warren. I'm in Rome, Italy today.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you're in Rome. I'm sorry. I was thinking, I told Alexey I didn't know where you were, but you're picking up my Ibis frame that got broke on the trip to World. So I'm Randy Warren, and I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
And I am Alexey, and I'm in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, welcome. Alexey Vermeulen, our most, how do you phrase that? The guest we've had on the mostest, the best guest we have, a fellow Michigan racer. Oh, man.
People look forward to this. I was riding with somebody from Traverse City at the Hincapie Grand Fondo, and he said, when are you going to interview Alexey again? I look forward to that interview every single year. So, and he was there at the Iceman, which you were at and won again.
Luckily this year, but I did.
So I just saw the results. It looked like a big group packed together, and you were like 3 seconds ahead of, or 1 second ahead of the second person or something, a couple seconds ahead. And Dean said he watched the video and it was very dramatic at the finish.
Yeah, there's kind of 5 of us coming into the final climb. And then I would say, and then by the time you get into up the final climb, up Icebreaker, going to the final single track, the race is pretty much over. You just never know, but it's pretty much over. And I was in second at the time, and Tyler, who was winning, crashed out in the final corner. So, and
how far ahead was he? How far was he? Like,
it's such a blur. Honestly, I think we're all blind at that point. So, I mean, he was not far, but not close. I mean, it's not.
He was right there.
Yeah.
So, in your mind, you're super experienced. You've won lots of big races. You know how this all goes, right? I mean, in your mind, you have all these scenarios. What are you going to do with this happening? And you're just so used to it. It's like instinctual. But so as you're coming into the finish, you see him ahead. You're like, I don't see how I'm going to beat him at that point. And then it just happens.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. At that point, I had decided I was finishing second. It's kind of one of those things that I finished as like a reminder of just like it's not over till it's over, which we all need sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there was definitely a chance earlier on with probably half a kilometer to go. And I hit a tree with my hand and went off into the woods for a second. And I think that was like the second that he needed, that I thought he was going to stop stressing and just, cautiously race his bike to the finish. And yeah, he didn't. I mean, that corner it was tricky, but it's also a mountain bike race, right? It's trying to find the fastest line through everything. And so, yeah, I remember just like coming around the corner and seeing him on the ground and like not really believing it. And like within 3 or 5 seconds, I was across the finish line. So it's like you couldn't really process how quickly everything happened.
Yeah, it happens. It's racing, as I say, right?
So, well, yeah. It looked like from the video I saw that maybe more than half of the top riders coming into that corner went down. So
3 of the top 10.
Okay, it looked like a lot. Yeah, I watched Kerry Warner.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think maybe I'm more harsh about it, but I mean, it's a corner we all look at. It's a bike racing corner, right? Like I watch that and you see a lot of people who have started racing and, it's an unfair corner, or it's this or it's that. And like, if I had gone down, I wouldn't have complained. And I know it's easy to say sitting here, but it's just a reminder to yourself of like, you're in charge of everything going around. We all pre-rode that finish circuit over and over and over and over and over the day before. And so it sucks to watch people go down, especially for Tyler to lose the race like that. That would have meant so much to him. And it's not at all the way I wanted to win. But I also hate people saying, it's bad luck. Look how many guys went down, because it's a bike race.
Yeah. I mean, you always tell that as a coach, I always tell my athletes when they go to pre-ride the course, you look at the finish, you look at the start, usually you look at the finish, and you look at any other technical sections maybe that might be the difference makers in the race. And so it's kind of up to people to do that.
And do it at speed. Stop talking to your friends. Focus on what you're doing. Like I'm not going to pretend like there's any reason I got lucky and he didn't. It's the reality of everything. Like I spent the entire morning watching amateurs crash there all day. And it's not that I was thinking about that going into that corner, but subconsciously there's something that makes you tap the brakes once more, think. And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to devalue how great Tyler was on the day. It's just, I also hate when people give excuses for like, it's not an unfair corner. It's a dirt to asphalt corner at a mountain bike race. So
yeah, dirt to asphalt is tough because you get the dirt on the asphalt and it's slippery and And this year they changed the course quite a bit too, right? I saw that the course designer used to be someone who was offering consulting, but they designed the course and they took away some sand sections and made more single track. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think every year they try. I still wouldn't say it's that different, but they definitely added in probably another 3-4 miles of single track as opposed to just sand stuff, which I think is always exciting, at least for me. But they're always going to run into like, it was a great year. We had sun again. The minute it turns into a muddy year and you do that with, 5,000 people, it just becomes chaos and the trails are ruined for a while. And so, yeah, it was great this year. And I think every year it's going to change, which is exciting, but it'll always be similar. There's actually there's a Reddit diagram that went around of like all the courses in the last 15 years. Is really cool. And you could just see all the little changes. Yeah. I'll have to find that. Send it to you guys.
How many years have you done it?
10.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Getting old.
you've won 3 though. You won 3. I haven't looked to check through like who's the most prolific winner before now at Iceman Cometh. Who's got the record?
There, Brian Motter has 4. There's 3 of us with 3. And it's crazy to say because I never thought I would win 1. So, like as a Michigan boy, I think everyone sees Iceman's big, but as a Michigan kid, it's like it's iconic. It's like it's what you hear your neighbors. Everyone's leaving in November. Where are you going? Like going up to Iceman, whether to drink or ride bikes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Brian's got 4. I keep saying if I get 4, maybe I just retire.
Yeah.
Call it a career.
You never know. You never know. So you had a great year though too. I mean, we were just looking at some of your results from the Lifetime Series, and you were basically first or second one time, not in the first top 2, but of every race that you did, which is, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing that Keegan even won a few more, but it was a great season. So when you look at your season, you say Lifetime. I mean, they try and put a big emphasis on that, and they make a big check out of it, and it's a series and stuff too. But do you what kind of emphasis do you put on that in terms of evaluating your season?
Yeah, so most of the Lifetime races I was way outside the top 2. I think the Grand Prix is the future of US racing right now. I don't think it's the only future, but I think it's the future. And I think it's something that I can get excited about every year. Every year it changes a little bit for how you focus on it. Like this year I had very little focus in the beginning of the year, and I kind of honestly thought I'd roll into it a little easier than I did. But like Sea Otter didn't go great, and neither did Unbound, neither did Tusher. And so the first half of the Grand Prix, quote unquote, was nothing special. I think I was like tied for 6th overall, and quite far down on the podium. And that's the beauty of a series that spans the length of 7 months, that you have to come on, show up to every single race. And so I kind of realized in early July that I was pretty tired already. And that wasn't the plan for the season. And so we kind of reevaluated, took some time off, and then did a big build into Leadville, suffered through Leadville, and got a little bit lucky. Like I just suffered, but that race is pretty crazy, and was able to finish 2nd to an absolutely flying Keegan, a time I never think we'll see beaten ever. And then 3rd at Steamboat, and that kind of started off this, I think, first off confidence, but also ability to have motivation to train and do a big block going into Gravel Nationals. And then from there, just kind of kept rolling with Gravel Nationals, and then Schwalmingen with a 14-man sprint that I think I just kind of carried some confidence from everything I'd done previously. Was able to get my tire across the line first into Gravel Worlds, which is an amazing experience, into the Rad, or if the Rad was before Gravel Worlds, and then into Big Sugar, where I ended up chasing all day, but managed to make it happen and get back. And I don't know, weirdly at the end, 2nd overall felt like a success again, to just tie what I did last year. But there's part of you also that by the time you get there, you're like, well, shit, why is Keegan ahead of me again? Yeah. But you can't, no one can. Keegan's year the last 2 years is incredible. I mean, I think the only race he hasn't won is Big Sugar and Schwalmingen. So
yeah, and Schwalmingen too. I mean, so did you rode a mountain bike for that? Did you? I mean, you could almost not ride
hardtail.
Yeah, we used to. I don't think I've ever done it on a rigid fork, but I've done it with like a 1-inch elastomer fork, I think, back in the day, you know. But you know, you're fine. I mean, you almost could do it on a gravel bike, right?
Literally. I mean, there's guys in there. That race probably has more Franken bikes than any other race that I know. Like Keegan was on full suspension with gravel tires. There's guys on gravel bikes. There's guys on gravel bikes with big tires. There's guys on mountain bikes with big tires. I was probably on the most lame setup, just a normal hardtail with 2.4s.
I've seen people on tandems there that just rip that course. You know, usually a tandem will be really at a disadvantage when you get to a technical uphill and that kind of stuff too. But on that course, which is basically the Berkey Binder cross country ski race course, yeah, it's a fun event to do, but it's very much different, right, than almost any other races you're doing in the Lifetime Series.
Yeah, it's so different. I think that's why most of us love it, because you never know what you can expect, and it is 40 miles of chaos. And the reality is, almost anybody can be in the finish hunt, depending on the day.
Yeah. Yep. So as you look forward, like you said, like now you're taking it easy a little bit at home, and you're doing some skiing, right? You're skiing a little bit. Is there no
Yep.
So at this point, I mean, are you off the bike for a little bit and just doing other things, or are you still doing a little bit of bike stuff, or how are you thinking right now in terms of like, you know, your preparation as you look mentally and physically for next year?
Yeah, I'm like very sorry, I don't know who's printing in the house. I'm extremely focused on not getting back on my bike until I have the itch to, and still holding off a couple days. So Iceman was the 6th or 7th. No, 4th. So pretty much from that day, I think I rode the next day for fun with friends. But I think I've done one ride. I don't think I'll get back on a bike for at least another week. Go to Thanksgiving and kind of enjoy. You start getting a little bored, but I keep myself busy. Big list of things that I want to get done. But yeah, kind of start doing some gym, start skiing a little bit for fun, eventually start running. I just try to be like a fully fit human before I give it back on a bike is kind of the goal. And then from there, not focus on like structured training until probably, middle December, January. It's just so long.
Yeah.
How does Willie handle this time off the bike? Does he like go look at the bike, look at you, and say, "What's going on? We're supposed to be out riding."
He does miss it, but we take him skiing. We take him skiing, and he's been on a couple rides. And I think he also enjoys the off season. Sometimes just sleeps more.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're more in tune to the light during the day, and so as we get less and less daylight, animals are more like, they do the rhythm we should do, right? They wake up when it's light and they go to bed when it's dark and stuff like that too. So it's probably more of a down resting time naturally for all of us, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the funny thing about off season. Most people I look at people, they finish their season and they're, 2 or 3 days later they're out running. Oh yeah, I've missed running so much, and they're running 3 or 5 miles, and like it takes so long for your body to realize that it has the opportunity to recover that like it took for like 3 or 4 days. I was like, I'm great. I could just keep going. And like the 4th day, I was like 14 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
The next day, like 12 hours of sleep. Like your body, it'll be at the end of this year almost 60 flights for me. And that's, everything I'm doing. It's not just racing, but majority of that is racing. And you can pretend for a very long time that you're not tired. And it's just, I'm excited, I'm motivated, let's get into the season for 2024. But by the time we get back to September, you're going to really feel that. So I think that's the big thing that I've done every year. Just like, even if it's harder to come back out of that hole of like really being unfit, give yourself a real chance to recover and like find a baseline and then build back.
And you have more organizational responsibilities now too, right? Just the program you're on. So you're still in Jukebox. Is that, a little bit of a structure, but you still have sponsorship stuff you need to do yourself, right?
Yes, I don't have an agent anymore. I'm Jukebox is ending in December, so I'm still figuring out what's replacing them, if anybody is. But yeah, a lot of the sponsor stuff falls to me for that and for From the Ground Up. The planning of From the Ground Up just takes time, and then you pretty much got to start logistics now for half the races of the season. So it's like it's a time to recover, maybe physically, but mentally, still a lot going on, just to be ready and be able to really enjoy the holidays and not stress going into January or February.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Jamie Ritchie, who was the mechanic for UHC for a lot of years, and he was saying that the athletes on UHC, when they stayed domestic, they didn't have to do anything. They just showed up. They got a ticket mailed to them. They got in the airplane. They showed up at the race. All their stuff was there for them. It's easy to get in that system where you don't need to worry about all the other things. But when you're not that person, even at your level of being a high level pro, you have to do all that stuff. It takes a ton of time. I mean, if you think of an amateur doing it for one event, like a target event, they're going to do, like if they're going to go to big sugars like that, and they spend months preparing just for that, the logistics and the travel and stuff. And you've got to do that for how many races did you do this year?
Not that many. I don't know, maybe 20, but I'd say some of those are easier, right? Driving or anything else.
So 20 trips,
Yeah.
maybe like 10
No,
or 15 of those take a lot of effort.
I think the only like solace is that it gets easier every year in a certain sense. Like once you do a race, you have an idea where you want to stay or where you didn't like staying and where you want to eat and what airport to fly into, and you're not doing all that research over again. I mean, yeah, hopefully you aren't, but it all you got to like make sure you're good at record keeping and knowing where you're going and making notes. And I mean, for me, it's been about finding like pet friendly places and like all these things that like add on to like the chaos of it. But it's also like I kind of really like it, to be honest. I definitely would get bored if I had to twiddle my fingers.
I mean,
You have a birthday coming up in a little less than a month. You're gonna be 29, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you feel, I mean, traditionally before the riders would really hit their peak in their late 20s, do you feel like you're really hitting that maybe best years still for a few more years, or how do you feel as far as
Yeah, I don't know. I like everything I do. I don't think I've been operating on like the edge of my capacity or the best I can be in years. I don't think I ever will again. But it's also like it's this full cycle portion of cycling that I want to be a part of right now. That's like being at the expo and hanging out and doing sponsor things yourself and racing your bike competitively. And I think it's trying to find a balance of all of that, which I think my point of saying that is that also prolongs your good years. So yeah, like but I feel like I've felt like this since I was like 25. And I don't feel like much has changed other than learning races and learning, the same as any adult, being confident or believing in yourself a little more. But I mean, you also look at the world tour right now, and the guys who are good are 21 to 25. So it's a crazy time. And I think physiologically we are learning that, to a point, age is just a number, and it's more just when does your body stop functioning at the highest level. So I don't know. I mean, I'm less worried about racing competitively because I know that like I'm in a very healthy place of enjoying it, and everyone supporting me is excited about it, and more just focus on like 1 or 2 years ahead and how I can impact like the people I work with and people around me that are going to races, and that never really existed on the road. And so it's been exciting for me to like not just have racing. Like I am competitive, in my own being, but beyond that, my career doesn't revolve around that anymore, which is nice. Like it's a third of it, but it's not everything.
Now, I saw recently there was a Velo magazine or Velo question to some athletes about what they would tell their younger self about. Did you see that article? I mean, do you ask
No.
yourself or have something? What would you tell yourself, like 20-year-old Alexey? What advice would you give if you could go back and tell yourself something for when you were younger?
Arrogance doesn't win your bike races. I don't know. I think it's hard because a lot of me does believe that I was talented, but I was never the most talented. I worked hard. I think a lot of it I attested just growing up in Michigan. Like I think a lot of the time I was happy. And I think it's very cliche to say make sure you're having fun, but it's true. Like I don't know how else to say it. Like do other sports, have friends. You can sacrifice without sacrificing. You can know when, okay, I'm not going to go. I have to miss graduation because it's a big event, but other than that, I can go run cross country with my team, or I can, go to a party. Like these 1 day events, if they don't affect a week of training or 2 weeks of training, like it's meant to be. Or even if you get injured, give yourself time off. You don't need to be on the trainer in a week. You're not paid. Like enjoy what just happened. Bad luck, deal with it, rebuild. And I give a lot of credit to my coach. Like I've worked with him since I was 14 years old. And I think like it just, at first he was just helping me not do 14 sports at once. And then as you grow, you learn that like he was also very good at just helping me enjoy everything I did and forcing you. And when you're younger to enjoy off season and not get into this kind of precedent of like, okay, 2 weeks, got to get back on the bike now. Like that's not, for me at least, that's not what works, right? I'm not in the world tour. There's a different pathway there. If you're there, there's a tight timeline of being very, very successful. But a lot of what we're doing to be competitive as a bike racer, or just to get the best out of yourself on a daily basis, it's not about weighing yourself every day. It's not about what you eat. It's about being happy.
When you think about,
in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, being happy is an important thing, but what makes you happy might be different for sure. But when you think right now, you're in a kind of a groove, right? I mean, Lifetime is great to have, and it's more money yet next year. So it's actually some financial reward in terms of that too, but it's also a schedule. And so are you thinking when you next year you say, well, Lifetime, I'm doing that because, it works for me. But then are you also saying, I'm just gonna do the same events I did otherwise? Or you're saying, I've never done this event, or I've never done that event, or what other opportunities are out there? When you're looking for your planning for next year, is it more rinse and repeat this year? Or is it like, what else can I make things to make me happy?
Yeah, I mean, the Grand Prix, like you said, I think it's a set schedule already for you, which kind of makes it easier to start building out the schedule. The reason I like the Grand Prix as a competitive person is that at each of those weekends, if you win, there's no bullshitting it. There wasn't 5 people, there wasn't 15 people. There's the best on the US soil at a given time, right? And that usually is including Europeans now, which is awesome. When I look at a schedule, I think I usually just base it off of goals. And so right now I'm trying to figure out what is the goal. Is the goal to win the Grand Prix next year? Is the goal to win certain races I haven't run? My brother's getting married next year in June, so there's no Unbound for me, which creates a big restructuring of the schedule because you don't have to train for a 200-mile race. I think I'll start earlier with a race never done, Mid-South, that I've just heard is a great time. And then from there, kind of figure out where things roll. April has been super busy with this back-to-back. Last year was Belgian Waffle Ride, then Seattle, this year Seattle, then Belgian Waffle Ride. But I think most of us overfilled our schedules last year because you can race every weekend of April. But then again, right, you get to July and you're like, where did my life go? And so I wouldn't say there's like, when you do the Grand Prix, there's not a lot of room for new races every year, but there's little areas that you can move around. I think I still want to go to Road Nationals at least once more, not move to May, and not in Knoxville anymore. It's exciting in a certain way. I love the Knoxville course, but I think it's just when things change, you get more people coming. And then, yeah, I mean, I loved Gravel Worlds this year. I don't know what I'll do. I won't go back if I don't do a couple UCI races, just have points and not start near the back, which is what we did. So, trying to find a couple UCI races that I wanted to throw in and try would, be the goal. But it's constantly a mix, right? And you'll set a schedule out and it'll change 3 or 4 times because you don't know what you want to do. Races that you can drive to are always easy and fun, but then, it's easy to just throw a bunch of those in and overfill your schedule for the ones that really matter. And the reality of what we're learning with the Grand Prix is that it's really hard and you cannot overfill all these months or you will not be factoring in at the front of the race.
It's a lot to consider for sure. Yeah. Like you said, you got in July, right? Last year, you were kind of like, ooh, and you take a step back. And so you don't want that to happen again. But at the same time, there's lots of things that are appealing to put you in the same situation, right?
Yeah.
Well, we got only a couple minutes left because we're on a little bit of a time schedule today, unfortunately. So Dean, you have a final question or something for Alexey, or?
No, I don't know. We don't really have time to talk too much about Gravel Worlds because we were actually all there at the same time, and we talked about some before. Is pretty cool that they had changed the course to make it more, more
Interesting.
similar to what a gravel worlds we would hope it would be like, but just to see the turnout of the Europeans and how next year's going to be even bigger, I guess, in Belgium with all the Belgian cycling fans. So
So
yeah,
Lexi, real quick on that, Lexi, do you, as an amateur, we feel like next year it's going to be explode in Belgium? Like, you know, we had, like, I think 46 guys in my race in the 60 plus race. Next year will be 150 probably, because it's just going to explode. From the pro side, do you see the same thing, or you're like, now the best pros were already there this year?
You can get deeper. Our field could not get bigger. We can't have more than 260 guys. Like, that was insane.
Yeah.
Or at least you can't start it like they did with 260 guys. Like, it's just, you're just, whoever you line up in the first 3 rows are the ones that are going to factor into the race. Yeah, I mean, we went, and I thought I was going to go to UCI Gravel Worlds and be like, that was cool. I don't need to go back. I love what I'm doing. And everyone in the US team was like, that was awesome. Like, how does this fit in the schedule? And so the question is, I don't know how it fits in the schedule. You look at the USCI calendar and it doesn't fit that well, but there's always races you can throw in. It's hard to plan. But yeah, I mean, I think we know what Belgium is to cycling. It's going to be massive. I mean, Italy's already, cycling culture is intoxicating, and you go to Belgium and it's, 2 levels higher. And so I'm excited to see. I don't know if that course fits the current American pros as well. But you never know. And I think if we can have a little bit of a plan and build out a team, like that was last minute, if we build out something a little earlier, it could be really special.
All right. Have you seen the course? You said the course. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be a bunch of.
The rumor is the course is the same as Europeans this year.
Ah, okay. I have friends that have done that one, so I can ask if I decide to go back too. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, we're almost out of time. So, Alexey, wow. I mean, we're so blessed to have.
Oh, wait,
you.
I did have one last question. Are you a Detroit Lions fan? This is the first year and forever we could talk about the Lions in a positive light.
Yeah, I'm a Michigan fan through and through. I don't watch much football, but I'm always happy when the Lions are winning. I need the Red Wings to come back and start winning. No, I need the Red Wings to start coming back and winning again. So it's okay. We had Red Wings. They'll come around.
They're playing better already this year. They've got a lot of talent, and I think Iserman's on the bubble a little bit in terms of he's got to turn it around for sure. So well, anyway, we're less than a minute. So thanks so much for joining us. Anything else at the ending? No, just we look forward to next year, right? We'll keep this going every year. It's great to talk, Alexey. Congratulations again on just another really superb year of racing. It's exciting to be able to follow you and be able to talk to you each year. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. It's always fun. Yep. Thank you. All right. Thanks. See you.